Yo, hello. Um, dude, I'm oftentimes feeling overwhelmed by the state of my life. Not certainly not in any negative way, but in a way where I get caught up in patterns of behavior and making choices that I don't love. Stopping for fries at, you know, Burger King or whatever, little things. And so learning to I'm trying to figure out the balance between like learning to accept and not be super hard on myself, balanced with like wanting to like give myself a little bit of like a kick of discipline into my life, just like internally, because right, there's like value in that, right? Like the simplicity of the actuality of what, say, 20 minutes of meditation per day might provide me. Let's not even to say anything about what the practice of meditation can do for our brains, but for how I would be viewing myself as someone who could follow through on this type of intention, right? Daily work, right? I have the flashback in my mind right now of the therapist from the Pickle Rick episode, right? Like, and in just in her way of like calmly looking at behavior. And I think that's kind of jarring for us to hear um, such direct language and commentary on stuff that seems like the type of things that we have to, read between the lines to have access to in our own lives. And uh, it's interesting, right? Reading between the lines, I think, is an interesting visualization, and to me, it leads me into like thinking about, say, the Matrix. Um, what's up, Sonny? And how that kind of is like reading behind the lines of code, and I think that's an idea that is like I was listening to this Ram Dass lecture tonight, and he's using this language of ego and soul, and then like awareness as kind of these three uh, like pillars of how we exist in the world, in our bodies, right? And spinning it back to the Matrix, the code, think right, the game, the video game, right? And I was given this avatar, right, in this 3D world of, and I was given the narrative, and I believe that I'm Wes, right? Like this is, and so then the soul is, the source of the life embodied in this archetype of me, of Wes, right? This character that is written by the universe. And there's that person behind, right? I'm also the person with the controller in my hand, right? Enacting the control over this character. Um, and then, like, yeah, I mean, to me, it's like kind of similar to like, I mean, it's the fucking Trinity, dude. It's like the Trinity, right? I grew up Christian, like the Trinity, and I could never actually appreciate it. Like the ego, this is, right, how I identify myself, the things we have to do. It's fucking 10 o'clock or whatever. Like, um, and I'm not sure like exactly how to uh, draw the line to point to when I'm being which character. Like, when am I able to see the grand scale of what's actually going on as, right? This is like, right, because it's like it almost sounds trivializing to call it a game, but to me it's just a very powerful thought experiment. It's like, you know thinking about our lives as the part of the omniscient, creator, that part of knowing everything is knowing what the experience of being Wes right now is, right? Like that, God, that really has been this meme, right? This idea that's kind of been stuck in my head. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for how I can wield this knowledge. Anyway, I haven't streamed in a while, and Sonny, if you chilling, I'll give you a reading. But I'm about to read some books because I also need, because it's like I feel like a sponge lately. And fuck, maybe I'll read out loud. I don't know, um, but yeah. I was like, there was a quick stage where I was uh, saying that I was going to start my podcast like this week or whatever, but I'm about to go on a road trip, spend quality time with my cousin, uh, figure shit out, see some friends. Individually, I'm not going to be going to restaurants and shit, but um, yeah, but also like, it's kind of like that thing of being hesitant and like half starting something, and then right, it's the exact same feeling of how it's felt my whole life after I knew that I could become a runner when I was on the high school cross country team. And then I would go for like 3 runs, then take a few months off, then go for 12 runs in 3 weeks, and then take a few months off. And that's how it feels with like creative outlet stuff too. But one of the things that I got, Lily, if you're watching, bro, I had a session with Tess, Tessie.frequencies, an energy work session. And fuck, man, I always draw myself out of my my ideas by trying to qualify and like give context. But anyway, yeah, like, recognizing the power of story in our society, in humanity. Stories have this power of wanting to exist at all costs. A story wants to survive just as any other form of life. It's kind of crazy. I hadn't thought about that before. And then also like, to kind of just sit and submit to the story that you're handed and like read the script, and whether you aren't reading it closely and you don't really care about it, or you're like, fuck this script, like my life sucks. Like there is that choice to be made. And she was just like by all means, just like you can do that, but it's just not very creative. Like she's like, I just want to test you to be like, what, go be creative. Like I think she said like, yeah, like you can live in your life and just totally always be like, yo, Netflix and chill. Like maybe next life I'll make a sculpture, but this life I'm just chilling. Right. And so I think I've discovered that there is, uh, yeah, Sonny, dude, I feel you. uh, like, it's just like, all right, well, since I lost my train of thought, chug on a new track. I've been listening to myself a little bit, and I say fucking like fucking a million times. I can't even. So again, test of will, not to shame myself for something that I might initially view as negative, but with a little bit of observation, with stepping into my soul awareness so that I'm not caught up in it, that I don't feel like emotions or behavior that I don't like about myself, or neuroses that I have. This is all ideas that I've been listening to from Ram Dass. So living the mystery, check this out. Probably look it up on YouTube, maybe. I don't even remember how I found it. Living the Mystery, Ram Dass lecture. I'm gonna listen to more shit. And yeah, dude, it's like, so if I might like kind of break it down, like you know, the past 8 years has been like this long journey of compiling these voices and ideas from people and from books and from conversations and from things I've listened to and seen and heard, like from others, like whatever. That everyone has, right, their own way in to, right, like finding your best way of embodying your character. Like you're gonna, and not best from my best for you, what you see, what I believe to be best for my life. And from Gary V, like the ability to be like, oh, what, I was wrong. And to just be like, okay, like admit it. Boom. Like I don't need to be like, oh my, right, clinging, right, again, clinging, letting go. Like I don't know if any of you could see the little blurb I wrote about this stream, but anyway. And then Chris Ryan, the author of Civilized to Death and Sex at Dawn, podcast host of Tangentially Speaking, was like, is kind of like, look, right? And we all kind of poke at certain narratives. Like I can't talk about every fucking problem. Like Chris wrote a book about, like monogamy is like the Abrahamic Western turned global kind of civilized storyline, monogamy, like, and it's like, I'm not saying like go cheat on your spouses, right? He's like, I'm just saying this doesn't have to be the thing that we think is ours, right? It's like this was a culture that through the spread of people clinging and people needing to see the external validation of what they viewed as reality, wanting it to be seen in the people that are not them, right? Like colonial white people throughout the world having seen other human beings who did not look like them, who did not act like them, who did not live like them, and who they wanted to exploit, or in some cases, I imagine, wanted to actually help, but like their version of help is just like, well, like we'll enslave you until you realize that our life is better. What? Okay, right? And I think there's a lot of power in visualization, and I used the word quick pretty loose, so bear with me. But like I hadn't thought about the moments or the places in my life where, without seeking it out, right, I had found like a flow, right, pure presence without intention, right. Those two places that happened was when I was performing, and I was like a choral performer. I was a singer, and I like did acting and theater and show choir and stuff, and like those moments, like in the heat of the moment, on stage, lights on, camera on, like go, like the music has started. And then also freestyle rapping, both of those revolving around music. Like music has been that place, but like as the articulator, right? And not necessarily alone, right? Like kind of like my dream is to find like a drum player and a guitar player who want to fucking vibe and who are also singers, like, because I haven't developed, but like, again, it's me constantly thinking, okay, which box do I fill with like my creation, instead of just recognizing that the materials that I have, which is my particular embodiment of this perspective with these particular skills, which have been shaped by my experiences, which were shaped by my choices, which were shaped by what I thought was possible for me to choose from, which was given to me by the story that, no one was trying to put a blindfold over me by lying to me about what reality is. But like, why wouldn't we believe this? In a way, like, that's fuck, it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like I'm like swinging back on the pendulum into ideas and practices in my life that swing more towards like, yeah, I don't need evidence type shit, which is like the stuff that I would laugh at and ridicule in like conservative religious people. But there is a definite difference in my eyes, because I think, like, at least what I saw in the religious world that I had a seat in, took part in for a good portion of my life, what I saw was that a lot of the people involved in that were there to hear about how dope the experience of God is, and that like that wasn't a place really where most of the people were actually figuring out what resonated with them. That's the thing. Like, this stuff resonates with me. Like, yo, right, playing this life thinking that I'm God and I'm just embodying the character of Wes. Like, it's like, ha 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 ha. But also, like, that's not any more fucking wild than believing heartfelt that the Bible is real. But also, this is something that affects the way that I live my life. And if that's something that I resonate with and it leads me into being more creative, right? Imagine I'm the hero of the story, or not even that. I'm just like this one embodiment of a hero, but I'm also the villain, right? Fuck, dude. I don't even know what, but I hear self-judgment a lot when I don't follow through on shit. And I think instead of dealing with the side effects of my shit on the back end and trying to let go of my judgment, what I first need to do is be more responsible in what I set as my goals, what I actually want to accomplish, and figure out why. Because I'm kind of just throwing up goals, being like, that would be dope. That would be dope. I'd love to meditate. I want to read. I want to make a podcast. Like, well, I want to hang out with I want to talk to my friends, right? Like, I want to start a podcast because I know that that's a medium that I'm going to fucking jam on, fucking son. Like, but also, like, I have so many friends who we are in actual, like, textual, verbal communication that, yo, we want to talk more. And so I'll be more inclined to be the facilitator for those connections happening, because I will be hosting the room for it to happen. Wes's room, like, come fucking chat with me. Like, there's shit that we can learn that we're right. And it's like, there's shit that I've learned of me listening to myself fucking talk. Like, and that is like increased tenfold when I'm talking physically with another human being. Like, and it's already so dope, me isolated alone in a room. So I'm gonna pull a tarot card, actually. I haven't pulled a card in a while. Dude, thank you, dude. This is like, and I think when I started stream, I really kind of had like I've been trying to podcast, like, what the fuck am I waiting for? Kind of set up these channels, and then I was like, well, I did the live stream thing. But again, right, it's like exactly what I was just saying. Oh shit, I have these other cards out. Exactly what I was saying about like being super fucking hard on myself. Like, it's okay, homie. Also, my friend Stacia, she's mocking up a little logo for me. with like one of those like Fibonacci sequence looking like shells with like a golden, like a soft pink Himalayan salt lamp color with and then the fly sitting on it. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll wait to do my thing, but I don't need to wait to do anything. But I can't do everything at once, right? It's like, it's like how many of my friends did I watch fucking play Skyrim when Skyrim came out? And to like see the way that they were like, okay, right? Like we know the rules of this game. Like I have my character, I fucking chose my dude, I got to pick from these basic things, right? I right, I'm like gonna parallel this where it's like, okay, hey, I woke up as Wes, fucking white male in Midwest America, fucking when he started singing, grew up, then he started smoking weed, and right then he got friends, and he was an actor, and he danced, and it's like, whoa, yeah, like right, and then you're back to in Skyrim, and they're like, okay, well, I gotta go fucking do these fucking tasks, I gotta get up my fucking skill points because I want to be better, and it's like, bro, like this is the character. This is the character. You already have your fucking fingers on the controls of your own fucking experience. And like like that's also a big part of it is like I didn't say that you're in control of your experience. It's like you're in control of like your experience of your experience, right? It's kind of wild. Like well, I'm a victim, or I refuse to be seen as a victim. Like this can be this complete, like each side wouldn't recognize that the other side is experiencing the same thing through a different pair of eyes from the opposite point of view, right? Right. Sometimes the difference of like timid fear kind of grabbing the steering wheel versus like confidence and like enacting, like not being afraid to act, like being decisive, right? And we all have this, like the yin and the yang exists in all of us, right? The hero's journey, like we're the obstacle that gets in our way, we're the person that we're afraid to lose, the love that is like simmering, and we're not sure it does she love me or whatever, right? Like and like dealing with those questions and having to go through that process, however that looks like, whatever your particular path is, whichever ones you have to deal with. For me, I've been like, okay, which fucking ones are the ones that I'm seeing again and again that I'm like feeling kind of not in control of, where I'm like, damn, I'm right. For me, it's like, damn, I was fucking lying again. I just fucking lied to her face again. What was I, right? Like, why? What? Well, that lesson came back again because I was doing it again because of what? Well, because sometimes, you know what, we fall asleep, dude. We fall asleep. And it's hard to just wake up from a dream. Sleepwalking, dream living, right? Like, I certainly can point to the times in my life where I was like, oh yeah, I was on autopilot. And that routine, something about that was, god damn it, something comforting, because it felt like that was something I could control. Boom, get home, fucking take off my shoes, take off my shirt. I'm like, yes. The Xbox, get over, take a pee, then I go over, then I'd like take out my grinder, get the thing, then I would go over, turn on the oven because I'd have the frozen pizza already ready, then I'd like take out, next thing I know, like I I had the right, I automatically stopped at the 7-Eleven on my walk home and grabbed like 2 cans of Monster and 2 bags of Doritos and a chocolate chip cookie and 2 pepperoni pizzas. And like literally it's endless for me to now look at like, bro, right? Like even one of those small things in my life today, I'd be like, really, dude? But that felt good at the time. So like, I'm not looking back at that and saying like, oh no, Wes, like what were you doing? No, like I've done enough of that. I'm looking at that to being like, dang, bro, hell yeah, like eat that shit. Like you killed that whole pizza. Ooh, damn. Right where I'm like, damn, I'm like, I ain't eating meat no more. Right, I couldn't down a pizza no more. I don't fuck with all them blunts all night no more. I don't fuck with 6 hours straight of video games and consuming like a TV show on the side. Double, just locked in to some shit that was at the time, I guess, felt better than like reality. And I've had a lot of moments where I've gotten really high and then like the coming down was the thing that I was like, fuck, I really have to come down. You know, a theme that's come up a lot in my freestyles has been, I got to learn how to fly, learn how to fly. I want to fly in the clouds, like over just in all different ways, innumerable ways of putting together those collection of words. And, you know, like I can choose, like I listened to those words that I said without really knowing what I was saying. And like, I believe that that's me. That's my subconscious communicating with me in this weird way. Like, that's the way that I can kind of pierce the veil of like meeting myself in a place. Like, I did visualization exercise with Tess the other day, and it just like the stuff that my mind created through just like simple, very general guidance of her voice, guiding my own closed eyes, like viewing myself, like what what do I really think that I see? Like, and what do I want to embody next? Like, I never thought that there was a choice before. And so like I feel like that choice needs to be made. And I'm like scared of what, making the wrong choice. If it's right, first of all, like there's not right and wrong, so throw that away. And really, I think like this emotion is a lot of just like, I'm like really upset about like the people in my life that I've hurt. And like, I can't really like immediately or maybe ever kind of like express that to them. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I hope, but I have to not get so caught up in my worry about other people, because look, I created suffering, and I kind of want to resist that because I don't want to have been the cause of that. Um, but also part of that cause was rooted from like my own suffering too. Like I said, it's like, am I framing myself as the victim or the perpetrator, right? Like, am I in the wrong or was I in the right? Like, fucking dualistic vision of like how we view ourselves, right? Like, and that doesn't serve me anymore. I used to have a lot of power, dude. And so it's not going to go away, but I can develop a more aware relationship when I see those parts of myself coming up in my head or in my experience or in my behavior, or like whether or not I catch it before I do something mindlessly without, right? Either way, like I know that I can see it. Right? So there's, fuck, there's shit's gonna come up. Life is crazy. Shit is gonna go down. But like I'm not attached to my story anymore, because the act of ridding myself of that attachment, of that thing that's like, like the concept of ego death. Like, to a lot of people, that's incredibly scary. And, I don't necessarily like that language, nor do I necessarily think that I've undergone that people would say that to be pointing to. But I understand, because it does feel like a changed relationship. Like, all of a sudden, like, this like incredible depth has opened up in how I can interact with the world. Like I said, it's like seeing between the lines, like reading between the code, right? Like the Matrix, like, like they haven't like separated themselves from that ego world, that first person experience. But now when they go to experience it, they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it for a reason. Like, I have to go into the real world because I have to get up at fucking 6 a.m. or whatever it is, right? Like, like we're a fucking human being. But like, reading between the lines of that, right? Whatever his name is, the guy who was born outside of the Matrix, who like is like fluent in these screens of those fucking green numbers of zeros and ones or whatever. Like, it's like, to me, what just comes to my head is like the same thing of people being like, well, I don't see race. What are you, a fucking liar? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, binary. It's so binary. Yeah, like, and yes, they are a liar if they say that. Like, why? What? Like, it's like not being able to see eye to eye comes from us living inside of different premises, which it means that we don't live on the same world. Like, and I get that. Like, we're born into the world of like everyone's a teacher telling you who you are and what. I know, fuck you, Maple. I say like too much, but I'm working on it. I've already said. So thank you for calling me out. How many dollars would you have? Like 80 at this point? But see, here's what I have witnessed is that like comes up because I am so accustomed to the type of treadmill articulating my thoughts in freestyle rapping that like pace and needing to navigate sentences with a purer focus on the rhyme scheme eliminated my need for like, right? So fuck, like. So then in this world where I forego needing the partnership of music to help me keep myself in my own train of thought, like comes in as the filler that comes out of my mouth as I like escape up into like my higher self, the one who's choosing the words, and then like my body is the one who's enacting the articulation of these particular sounds that mean something to us, right? And I've even found now thinking about it. And as you may have been witnessing for this past few minutes, if that's on my mind because you said it, I can keep myself more in awareness to hop over those moments and greet them with silence and thought, because that's what they already signify. And that particular sound becomes an interrupter to your experience of what I'm trying to articulate, right? And, I'm really glad to be witnessing that in myself, to have people around me who are going to be interested in calling me out. And I don't know. Thank you. Like, fuck. Here. Two of Wands, bro. Two of Wands. Dominion. Okay? This shit is for me, all right? This shit is for me, bro. Two of Wands. Like, bang. Like, fuck. Like, this is the fucking Trinity that I was just talking about. This is me. This is me, whichever one I'm embodying, right? This is awareness, ego, and soul. We have the ability to wield all of these different perspectives at any moment for whatever we need to do. I have dominion over how my character acts, how I respond to the circumstances that come to me. And so there's a lot involved in that, right? So one of the things that we have to see is how does this fit into the narrative that I believe or that I think I'm in, right? What is the storyline that I take? Yeah, I like the idea of using the phrase of ego death, because, like, again, I don't love that phrase, but I've heard it a lot and it means a specific thing, right? Ego death. Like, I think again, see, because I was so trying to think of the word. Thank you. Well, damn, Maple, you the realist, man. All right. Also, this motherfucker has the yin yang shit up on his back, bro. That's exactly what I was saying, dude. That's exactly what I was saying. I don't know if y'all could see you can only see it on Facebook and YouTube, the little blurb for this stream, but, and then the flames, dude. I just today finished Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time. And this fucking fire makes me think of motherfucking Zuko. Fucking Fire Lord Zuko in this hoe, dude. Homie had literal split personalities, right? He literally was the embodiment of the struggle between darkness and light. He literally had the blood running through him of the Avatar and the Fire Lord. Like, and damn, like, even from a young age, before he even knew any of this shit, he bore the mark of, like, testing the system, of, like, not being the perfect son, and, like, his feeling like he had fallen from grace, from his family, his empire. He met, right, he was exiled with Uncle Iroh, like, all this shit. Fuck. I brought up the Iroh thing because I love Iroh and I lost my train of thought, but yeah. I started talking about this because I was talking about the places where I have found flow, right? Kev, if you're still watching, like, gloving, I imagine, is a pure state of flow. And I was saying that I've experienced that in freestyle rapping and in, like, choral singing and theater and performing, because it can take us outside of the ego. And I think, like, we can go in both directions. Like I said, it's like ego is like the man, right? The character that all of the stories of our lives tell us that we are. And then in our left hand is our ability to dive into our awareness, to exist, to be present in the moment, in what reality is. It's easier to imagine what that is when you can recognize that time isn't real. Linear time certainly isn't real too, right? Because that frames our world. Even in how we grow up understanding the world, it's like I do visualize like the timeline of history, of this never ending like line extending behind us. And, you know, that's just, gross. And, the places where I've found the, you know, meeting, peeking into a place beyond time was on insight with psychedelic drugs. And then also in through practice, which is the part that I'm definitely trying to work on more: meditation, yoga, um, visualization, journaling, like drawing, learning to play an instrument. Like there are all of these different places. Like freestyle rapping, right? It's interesting because, right, what I'm valuing right now is the content of ideas that I'm able to traverse because I've given myself the space to speak in the way that allows for this stuff to come through. Shout out to Sunny, homeboy. And then sometimes it feels right for me to go move past the content and move deeper into the flow, right? Take a big breath and like dive under and just explore the possibilities. Like, what is this dance, right? I can be fostering all sorts of different maneuvers and, showing myself these different ways of existing that I've never done before because I never heard this music. Or, one of the things that I learned to accept was those moments during freestyle rapping where I would be like, I would want to say the phrase, say like, I dropped in like a bullet, but then I would say like, and I dropped in like a bullet, or like the way that I wanted to phrase it. I like couldn't think of the word fast enough, or like I extended one word, so then I had to like quicken it up, and I was like, I'd be like, fuck, I could have gotten it so smooth. But then like always, again, I'm so binary, like I'm so wanting to be like that, what, oh, I messed up, or I did it great. But nevertheless, whichever one I think I did, I'm always just doing it, the thing that is reality. And then the next rhyme comes only from the change in the rhythm, from me messing up. And that leads to an entire new vibe, like entire new song. Like, and so like we can't get it wrong, guys. We cannot get this wrong, dude. I really believe that. And so, I watched probably like the last 3 episodes of Avatar today. The last one's like a movie, the last like 4-part final episode. And like I was planning to go like work all night and make money, but I didn't. But dude, the emotions that elicited from me watching these kids grow up throughout that series, and to see Aang in that moment of like, it wasn't, and again, oh my God, fuck, this aligns with my story. Like I am the Avatar, like fuck, like when, and sorry, spoilers, but I just fucking watched it. It's on my mind. Like when he's fighting Fire Lord Ozai, like, and he uses the lightning and he like redirects it, and he like, and then he goes, no, because it's like in that moment I heard him being like, this is what all of my past lives want me to do. But he was just like, I am not my past lives, right? Like, I do not need to Google how to be the best Wes, right? Like, what will people accept most, right? In that moment, the avatar's like, my friends want me to kill him. Fucking Zuko wants me to kill him. Like, that's what they think needs to happen. And he took it on himself. Like, not only was that the right thing to do, but it was like extra hard because both of these voices that were his confidants and that he trusted, his trusted advisors, his support system, were all telling him like, well, you're going to have to kill him. Like, but it's okay because this is what we have to do. And he just refused to give in to other people's expectations of him. And that's like who we are. Like, that's this person making this choice of, like, fucking the Phoenix King. What a bitch ass Fire Lord. Like, that was just like, it was like watching pure ego meet Aang, the manifestation of like the Trinity, right? That the fact that, or of like the quad entity of all of the elements of not meeting violence with violence, right? And yeah, motherfucker needed to go to prison. He wanted to take over the whole world. Like, fuck you, dude. And then also you can see that, like, once he's dead, like, the Fire Nation is like, oh yeah, all right, we chill, like, our bad. Like, it was this homie, like, telling us all that we were going to be the best nation ever. And, makes me think of Hitler. Also makes me think of Trump, just crazy. But it also just makes me think about capitalism, man. Because thinking about, like, all these Fire Nation people, it's been going on for generations. Like, all of them were born into a world where Fire Nation was trying to take over. And so Fire Nation's only going to hear their own narrative about how they're spreading their lovely way of life across the planet, and like other nations have tried to get in their way or whatever. Who even knows what they would believe, because you don't want to believe that you're the perpetrator. You don't want to believe that you are the villain, right? When Cain started the first city after he was banished by God for killing his brother Abel, he went and started his city alone. Like, boom, he was in charge of telling and shaping the reality of this new world. So obviously he's not going to tell all of his people how much of a bitch ass he was for killing his brother, like, just because his brother was different, and just because his brother's way of life was more in harmony with the universe, with nature. That's true. I believe Abel was indigenous humans and Cain is non-indigenous humans, civilization, the culture of cities. Changed the way that we live, right? And all of a sudden changed why our, right, shaped what stories survived, right, throughout, whatever history we can somewhat accurately, explore of our ancestors. And, like, again, it comes down to, like, the vision of, well, like, look how dope our Fire Nation is. We want everyone else to experience how awesome it is. Right? Like, what? Like they chillin' their own way. And you might not understand how someone else is creating their own happiness. That might not look right to you. You might look at someone else's life and be like, I could never. So then don't, and fucking move on, right? And the thing is, right, like if the Fire Lord had won, like life would have crumbled. It wouldn't have been a sustainable life of a way to live with the earth. Just like capitalism is consuming this planet and just shitting out toxic shit and just like doesn't give a fuck, you know? I'm also like coming into my comfortability with not needing to hold my tongue on the amount of curse words that I say. Because I always looked at that as, and obviously it's different when I was teaching English to sixth graders. I don't curse. But like, you know, and I used to use fucking as like, as much as I would say like almost as a filler word. But now it is an adjective that seems easy or important or both, or I'm comfortable with how that changes the things that I say by adding in those adjectives. Curse words, just even the idea of that is just, you know. What else? Next card, you guys, the Fool, bro. This is for me, homies. This is all about me, okay? I'm gonna be selfish right now. This shit, y'all see this and talk about this artwork, bro. The fucking Fool. Are you kidding me? I am literally the Fool right now. I am literally taking these goddamn steps out of my comfort zone, which being in this room here with you is one of those steps. It's certainly gotten easier than it was on day one in the first step with my brand new Fool shoes for my journey. Like, gotta break them in. And god damn, the Fool. Tarot literally blows my mind. And Sonny, I'm not gonna do a reading, but I'll get to you another day. And I think I'll try to stream a little bit on the road too with my homie Shane. I'm gonna wind this down here because I pulled the Queen of Pentacles as an action card earlier today, and it just reminded me how much I need to clean up my fucking room. And because I know that it will make me feel really good. Like, this is just like self-care. But I have to care. Because we cannot take care of ourselves and like we'll still basically be okay most of the time. If we kind of ride by bare minimum, you know, I've been living in a state of like like mental frugality, but then like not actual frugality, but then yet still with the stress of like feeling like I was depriving myself of shit that I wanted out of the desire to like save and be like smart with how I was spending and not being frivolous, which obviously is important. And I don't give a fuck about expensive shit, but I'm no longer averse to the things that I like because they cost a little bit more money. Being vegan has really kind of been one of those things because, you know, like, bro, vegetables and shit is cheap, but like, I can go find a $8 frozen pizza, like a vegan frozen pizza at like the health market at my grocery store. And I'm like, yo, like, this is gonna make me so fucking happy. Like literally, uh, but yeah, you know, as I wind down, and this is probably gonna be around an hour, and I think I will post this. I'm figuring out how I'm gonna post podcasts, but yo, I'm not waiting for shit. I know that there's someone out there who is probably gonna listen to this and will be listening right now who did not watch this live stream, who would not sit for an hour and watch me on YouTube, but who might plug it in on their fucking podcast app while they commute, you know, 3 separate times in like 20-minute increments. It's crazy, right? Like, because that's what I do. Dude, boba. Sunny says, yo, Wes, this is crazy. I'm feeling like my life is in synchronicity, energy wise, with what you are processing through. In some ways, not at all. Oh, in some ways, I thought not. In some ways, not all. Of course. Dope. Your experience is like a reading for me right now. Boba coming in with the questions, man. Love it, bro. Can materialism be beneficial? I need to process this. You know, it's like I was listening to Ram Dass earlier, and he talks about how we kind of live in a scientific materialist culture where, you know, we believe we believe our Western culture to be this certain thing that we name, that we can call whatever Christian, Anglo, whatever, you know, Abrahamic beliefs, which shapes the general consensus of reality, these stories, even if, right, not even to sit, right, even if like, yeah, like not everyone believes that the fucking world is 3,000 years old, because that's dumb. But like those stories and these ways of uh, acquiring our visions of our own identity uh, leads us so we live in where that's what we say, but the real culture is materialism. And Ram Dass says, right, where like the shopping malls are the real temples. Right now, it's like the shopping mall is on my phone, in my hand, on an ad on Instagram. Right, it's like it has integrated itself into to be present in every moment of our life. Right, like the ultimate deity. Like we're going to be seeing alongside my best friend posting whatever, like the shopping mall, the materialist thing, the thing that shows me the thing that, because, you know, we're not doing this, but like the way that, right, it's culturally shopping is like an activity. Like to kind of like pause, like break that down. It's like, bro, like really? Like accumulating shit, like spending money like this? And can materialism be beneficial? Well, I mean, it's necessary. So yes, right? Like, but as long as it's intentional and um and again, fuck, like the themes that I can't get away from kind of are like, go easy, man. Like it's okay. Like sometimes you'll like go to the shopping mall, or I'll buy the cool shirt on Amazon or whatever. Like, but I want to be doing it not out of impulse, not out of instant gratification. I think like getting that hit, like consuming in that type of way, right? That's like, that triggers a literal chemical reaction in our brains, which are the facilitators of our experience. They're the our brains are the things that give us what we perceive to be reality, like the chemicals change. Like when we experience something which in natural indigenous human life was like a type of like success, like we had a bountiful season of whatever, right? Like that type of like bounty, where when that's the way that happens, like it's not possible to hoard resource or wealth for life outside of our culture. And obviously, wealth can be concentrated in different areas, of course, but for it to be accumulated by individual forms of life, accumulating it on purpose, like, and not for the good of the whole. Like, what other species besides non-indigenous humans? The answer is none. What other species is going to let just fucking be walking down the street in your community with millions of dollars in your bank account, not being spent, may never be spent, or looked at as a resource to acquire more, right? How many millionaires are like, nice, now I have like real money to get into the stock market game to make more? Like, fucking wild, man. And it's like, I've heard the way that politics talks about wealth and inequality and poverty and rich people, and like it just like it goes back to materialism. Like it's like we're like worshiping the images of people that we think are real, that give us a sense of, this is where my community is. Like, imagine seeing someone that you are physically attracted to on billboards all over town, and then like that brand of that company that paid for you to be seeing that image multiple times, that like our brains process that as if that person is a part of our community, right? But it's a brand. It's like, so I'm gonna go buy an Adidas shirt because I saw the hot person in an Adidas outfit, and like, but if I see an Adidas shirt and I like how it feels to don this energy, it's interesting for me to think of my clothing as energy, but I'm wearing a lot more open t-shirt, open button, short sleeve button up combo, and it just literally makes me feel more comfortable existing around. I like it better. I like to have the flow. I like the layered look of an outfit. Like, and before, like previously, in a state where I wasn't awake, where I was kind of giving in to the patterns while not realizing that's what I was doing, I would be like buying clothes, and the thing that I would be thinking about when I would put on a shirt to see how I felt in it, I wouldn't think about how do I feel in this. I would look in the mirror and say, like, would someone think I looked cool, right? Would an imaginary person, whether it was someone who I was hoping might be attracted to me, or wanting my friends to think I looked good or whatever. Like, it was about them, and then it wasn't about me. Like, what? And so, like, it can be about you. It's like, and it's not like this, I don't know, it's not like crazy, like selfish, right? It's kind of like, it's like we hate people who are selfish, but like we also glorify people who are selfish. It's like, yo, what do we even want? Like, don't be selfish, but be a millionaire, right? Uh, and through lots of the voices, the characters, the conversations that I've been privy to, uh, like the theme that, like, we are in charge of unlearning a narrative that isn't ours and learning about other narratives that have also existed outside of my experience up to this point, and creating my own one that, right, isn't true, because truth is not real. But like, I could be wearing this shirt alone with it buttoned up, but I wouldn't feel as good, right? Like, I like to, I am not bound by being attracted to one gender of person. Like, that was a narrative that ruled a part of my life, you know, and it's not like I want to go say, fuck your narrative, I'm making mine. But like, also, yes, I kind of want to say that because like, and because it's powerful, and it's fluid. And when we figure out how in control we can be, we can start to uncover that so much of what we view as real is an illusion. Like, what do you think your personality is? Whatever you think it is isn't actually like anything real. It's like you created this thing of a combination of your memories, and your memories of your feelings, and your past perception of how you fit in your community, and your vision of yourself and your behavior as fitting into being good or bad, and how do you remedy the bad, and do you, right, which one do you want to be? And it's just like, I was told that I was a smart young man who could sing, and so, like, in a way, it's like I was given a lot of positive aspects of, like, someone said, hey, you're like this, and I was like, okay, thank you. Right? Like, someone said I was smart, and I'm like, okay, why? Oh, well, because I like accomplished these tasks. Smart? What? Like, you mean like docile? Right, in a way, but it's all blended. Like, there's not, the argument of what, like, nature or nurture. Boba said, maybe projecting your personal appeal and self-value has become a part of our first world survival tactics. We were all taught that being liked expands our opportunity to earn a living, as if rejection isn't living. Projecting your personal appeal. Interesting to think of it as a projection, Again, back to like video game shit, it's interesting to kind of think like imagining that who I believe myself to be, everyone else believes themselves to be, right? Like, we could all just be God, but just like from behind a different, just operating a different controller. Like God could have a fucking million hands operating a million controllers, but down here, I'm Wes. Like I'm not God. Like look, it's me. Like, and God, there's so much in this in your comment. We were all taught that being liked expands our opportunity to earn a living, as if rejection isn't living. Well, yeah, and not living the way that we think is the right way isn't acceptable, i.e., colonialism, right? The decimation of indigenous tribes and populations of people living, not having to earn their living. When we lived in the garden of this world as one of its inhabitants, as one of the embodiments of life itself, right? Because we've splintered identity, we've splintered consciousness, we've created duality. I am separate from you, right? This is a card, this is a hand. And all that stuff, it's like, yo, the narrative just comes. You know, my parents never thought that they were teaching me about duality because they just think they're dual. The narrative, again, I can't stop saying narrative, but it's like so fucking powerful. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, Sunny, if you're still watching, like, awakening to what narrative have I been enacting? Like, I did a visualization exercise yesterday, visualizing myself as eyes closed, visualizing myself as like on a stage as this character of who I view myself to be. And I thanked that character for putting in all the effort that it has taken to be the best me I could have been. That character has put on a hell of a performance in acting like and performing as Wes. And this is all in my head. It's interesting, right? And then it moves into, okay, like thank you, Wes. And then, all right, off stage you go. On comes the next character to take over for me from this point forward. Okay, time for the next act. Like, and in my head, like those two characters look very fucking different. It's kind of like child and adult, like growing the fuck up. Bubba said, I learned two very important things from complete strangers. Perhaps befriending evil is preferable to being alone. Evil is inside of you, so you already are the evil. So befriending it would be accepting the one part of you that you used to view as something outside of yourself. Okay, and once you understand someone who is evil, you will be able to understand anyone. Again, you are evil and you are good. We are all of this, and I love it. And you will be able to understand yourself because you can listen and believe the narrative that you are the hero, but like you are also the villain. It's like kind of blows my mind to be thinking about it like that. I don't like to think of myself as a believer, but every example I have of those omens prove them to be true. And yeah, like we can certainly experience people as being embodying evil because that's, I guess, possible if you want to frame it that way. Lightness and darkness. which wolf do you feed, right? Whatever. But like, where do you place your attention? If, right, like Fire Lord Ozai was probably had never lived a moment of his life outside of his ego. He was born as a prince, and like he is like his future. He could see his future. So, right, he's like, my narrative is written, and so that's why when he gets to that place, he's like, I'm gonna write a better one. Right? He wanted to be a creator. This was the only way that he knew how. We saw the same thing from whatever Fire Lord with Avatar Roku, right? That dynamic where it just kind of was like this, like I could be known for this, right? Like I could move past what other people's expectation of my narrative was. Like, right? Everyone already knew I was going to be the Fire Lord, but I'm going to be King Phoenix, or the Phoenix King. Fuck. And it's interesting because he wanted to wield that control outside of himself instead of wielding that control inside. Dude, discovering that like the Fire Nation like wiped out all the dragons almost, and like the Sun Warriors made their whole like way of firebending all about like anger and like clenching instead of like flow. It's funny, man. You know, like imagine this with me for a sec. Like imagine the house that you see at like a Kia commercial at like a Christmas time where it's like the fucking white family with like the bows on top of like the silver like car and SUV combo in front of like the sleek fucking full open window silver fucking whatever. And then imagine like a small hut made of bamboo propped up on like poles at the edge of a swamp with no air conditioning, but like a little bit of electricity, like a single light bulb, a fan, a small refrigerator, and a little electric stove, and a small TV. And the people still have cell phones, right? I'm not describing some like ancient shit about our indigenous ancestors. I'm describing like parts of our world that can bring like the world has exposed itself. Like the Fire Nation has spread its ideologies to not every corner of the earth, but as much as they can and have been able to up to this point, and they will continue to do so. The proverbial they being us, the enactors of this culture. And so really what we can do is just be like, well, in my fucking head, I think, well, I'd rather be the brand new Kias in the driveway of a dope, nice fucking mansion than be the person, you know, swatting mosquitoes, right? Having to sleep under a mosquito net in the heat, and with just a fan. You know, it's just like, but why? Well, because that first picture just simply aligns more with the narrative that I was given and that I have experienced my whole life. You know, I lived in Thailand for a year, and while I didn't live in a hut by any means, I was lived in a house with AC in my bedroom, not in my whole house, right? Like whatever, like, so in order for us to like like I'll read a fucking book and I'll like know more shit. Like, hello, we can just go find out new stuff. All right, Boba. I understand that most people have the capacity to make any decision within specific conditions, but how can I separate dualities if I don't even understand the intentions of my actions in the middle of a compassionless empire? I might as well be from the Fire Nation, supporting them with my materialism and survival tactics. Mm. Yeah, dude, I might as well be from the Fire Nation, supporting them with my materialism and survival tactics. Interesting. Okay. Boba said, one thing I do believe is that our entire reality exists in a gray area between what's known as yin and yang. But, dude, yin and yang isn't gray. I don't believe that. It is black and white. They are not the same. I understand why we want to think of it as gray, but that's why there is a little bit of black in the white, and there is a little bit of white in the black. They still can maintain it, and it's only us who project these idea of like black and white opposites, like good versus evil. Like, it's a Buddhist idea to say like you need to live in ecstasy and with the knowledge of impermanence. You need to live in joy and in sorrow. Like, I was listening to Ram Dass today where he was like, I used to have this idea in my head that in order to be happy, I needed to not be sad. Right? Like, I was Buddhist for 2 weeks. Well, I'm certainly not in anything ist, but there is value in all of these traditions because they have different ways of pointing to the same thing. I don't really want to be anything, but I understand that there's value in it because if I read more Buddhist literature, then I will have access to a deeper encyclopedia to pull from when I need to comment on shit. That, right? Ah, Boba, you're dropping bombs, dude. Nothing is altruistic as the only constant is change. I don't really know. I haven't thought too much about altruism, but I would almost say everything is. Like, I mean, it depends on your definition of altruism. Like, again, it's like if I view myself as like the Trinity, as this, as this, you know, being that can exist in these three states of mind, embodied in this human. Like, yeah, true. Change is always occurring. And so how we respond to that change uh, becomes our life. And how we respond is based on what story we believe about ourselves, about what's possible. You know, the stories of, whatever Buddhist meditators like levitating. Like, again, like I'm like leaning into a place where I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Right? Not because I believe in magic, but because I believe that like reality isn't as real as I perceive it to be. The reality is real to me because I still believe the stories I've been given about it. Why wouldn't I? We all believe them because we're a sponge when we're younger. We can't control what we are given, but when we realize it, we can then control what we do. You said, I understand that most people have the capacity to make any decision within specific conditions. Yeah, true. You phrase that in a way that sounds like you don't feel like you have that ability. I believe that you do. You don't always have to separate the dualities. It's really hard to live that way. I think you do understand some of the intentions of your actions, but it's hard for us to figure out like what is my compass. And like I feel like I'm in a place right now where like, I kind of don't give a fuck about you guys. I'm like figuring out my own shit, right? Like in a way. Like this isn't altruism right now. This is just me chilling. Oh, it's my mom. Yo, what's up?
Hey, I just didn't know if you were coming home tonight or not.
Oh yeah, I've been home for hours. I'm live streaming.
You're home?
I'm live streaming in my room.
Okay. All right, I was worried.
I got home at like 9:30.
All right, have fun.
Love you. Mom, she didn't hear me come in. Classic. But yet I've been here the whole time. But her experience of reality was this state of right? But that was only a narrative in her mind about the reality of where I am, where I was. And on that note, my voice is tired. Go check out my TikTok, guys, if any of you are on TikTok. It's pretty cool. I'm a fan, Wes Carlson on TikTok. I'm just getting into doing a lot of little focused little messages, which I like to share. And my podcast is called Never Stop Learning. This is episode 1. This is a process, but ain't shit perfect, and I wouldn't want it that way. And I love every one of you, and hope to see you again. Goodbye. Peace.